Two guys and a gal talking about movies. Two guys and a gal talking about movies. Two guys and a gal, they're talking about movies. And you know they are really groovy. Two guys and a gal talking about movies. Two guys and a gal talking about movies. Two guys and a gal, they're talking about movies. And we know they are really groovy.
Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world and whenever you're watching. Welcome to another live episode of Two Guys and Sometimes a Gal Talking Movies. And tonight it's going to be all about Mexican filmmaker, very, very popular guy, Guillermo del Toro. I promise you have seen at least one of his movies, and I promise you have probably liked that movie. We'll see if that promise comes true or not when we watch this. But he's an amazing guy. He's an author, he's a novelist, he's a screenwriter, a producer, a director. He's done everything. And his genres have ranged over two different cultures, Mexican culture and American culture, two different languages, Spanish and English, and also different genres like Gothic horror movies, all the way to modern mainstream, very popular blockbusters that you've seen everywhere, action movies. So in order to discuss these and dissect these and weigh in about them and rank these movies, we are bringing up your two hosts, of course, Manny Zamora and Rory, man of a thousand voices, Penland. Hi, guys.
Hey. How you doing?
No one would know what was going on behind the scenes. Nobody knows what we were going through about 3 minutes ago.
We're all pretending to be Michael McConaughey.
Michael McConaughey. That's his brother.
Right. Matthew's brother. That's right.
I walked into that. All right.
Poor Rory. He was all getting chips or something, and
well, I was actually out getting my water, and feeding the cat. And I walk in, and he's Matthew McConaughey. He's channeling Matthew.
Yeah.
He's in Texas.
I do McConaughey by doing the bongos, the naked bongos that the police came in. That's my favorite incarnation of McConaughey.
A great name for a band, the Naked Bongos.
The Naked Bongos.
The Naked Bongos. I'm down for that. Yeah.
So then I asked the question, what's going on with Madeline Moniz, meeting up with Richard Gere?
And then we got all hot and heavy about Richard Gere. We got very hot and heavy because Maddie's
Burt
been
Lancaster
hanging, and then it morphed into.
That's when I made the confession. Years ago, I had a gay dream about Burt Lancaster,
and I asked him how gay was it, and he said
it was very gay, and it was older Burt Lancaster, so I felt violated.
He took advantage of your innocence.
Oh my goodness!
He took advantage of you.
But who hasn't had erotic dreams about Burt Lancaster? Yeah.
I'm the only weirdo who has it. And then to which
Manny, show me on the doll what I touched to.
To which Manny started doing what was the line that you said, Manny, in the Lancaster voice? What did you say? I'll touch you gently. It was
Just be gentle with me.
Oh, okay, guys. We're here to talk about Guillermo del Toro. We're gonna go deep with Guillermo. Okay,
We're gonna go deep with Guillermo. Yes.
My God, he looks like Philip Seymour Hoffman there.
Yeah.
Yes, he does.
Man,
wow.
He does look like
him. If Seymour were still alive,
he could play him in a biopic.
Play him in a movie. Yeah.
Okay, so Manny, do you want to lead us off?
All right. Well, the first movie on my list of 5, and before I get into that, I want to address something. A friend of mine or an acquaintance of mine DM'd me and asked me, since we do this show, I said, well, what do you think? What's your definition of a good movie? So my definition of a good movie is a movie where all the elements come together. Where it has a good script, it's telling a good story, there's good performances, and where care and thought has been put into the movies. And to me, that describes a lot of Del Toro's movies. You can definitely tell that he put a lot of care and a lot of thought into the look, the sound, the music, costumes, everything about his movies, and especially his storytelling. And to that point, the first movie on my list is Pan's Labyrinth, which is a dark fantasy. And when I say dark, I mean we're talking Stygian depths of darkness. This is Alice in Wonderland by way of H.P. Lovecraft. It takes place during the the Spanish Civil War in the 1940s, 30s and 40s. And it's about this young girl whose mother has married a uh, a general in the Spanish army, who is a very cruel and
captain.
He's a captain.
That's all. That's all they call him in the film. I don't think they ever give his name. They just call him the captain.
Yeah, yeah. That's right. He's a captain. He is, and like I said, he's just this cruel, and that's one of the things that Del Toro does really well. He inverts certain tropes, like instead of the evil stepmother, we get the evil stepfather in this one. And so the little girl, in order to escape the the cruelty of the real world, slips into this fantasy world. And that's the other thing about Del Toro that he does very well is he's able to mix just harsh reality with these fantastic fantasy worlds and really blend them really well, almost seamlessly. So yeah, definitely not a kids movie, but
no,
very very well made. And special mention has to be made of an actor named Doug Jones, who plays all the creature performances, and like Andy Serkis does with but Andy Serkis does more of the sort of mocap digital effects, whereas Jones actually gets into the special prosthetic makeup. But a lot of it is half and half prosthetics, half CGI. But it's again blended so seamlessly, and his performances are they're just so well done. He really makes you feel like these creatures are real, and in fact, he's in I think 3 of the movies that we're going to talk about here. But his performance as the faun in Pan's Labyrinth, and also the sightless creature, which we've seen. We've brought up the images of the guy with the eyes in his hands.
Right.
Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
Renee, do you have a picture of the faun?
I have a video of the faun that we're going to play.
Well, let's
roll. Let's roll that tape.
Roll that beautiful bean footage.
Roll that beautiful faun footage. I think it's the faun. I think it's of the faun.
¿Sois vos? ¿Habéis regresado? No me asustéis, os lo ruego. Mirad, mirad.
Mi nombre es Ofelia. ¿Quién eres tú?
¿Yo? Yo he tenido tantos nombres. Nombres viejos que solo pueden pronunciar el viento.
And there you go.
This is her guide to the other world.
The little girl. The little girl.
The girl, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's an example also of something that you're going to see in almost all of Del Toro's movies, is that color scheme of kind of a bluish green or greenish blue or blue and gold. That tends to be the schemes that he goes for. And the other thing about Del Toro's movies that he does, and I don't know if it's in all of them, but in most of them, the ones I've seen, he loves to have a narrator or a narration at the beginning of the movie and at the end of the movie. It's usually one of the main characters, kind of setting up the story. And usually at the end, there's a twist. The narration continues, and it's like, oh my goodness. But yeah, and so you saw an example there of Doug Jones. Of course, they dubbed his voice in Spanish, but and the entire film is done in Spanish. I'm sure there's a dubbed version somewhere, but the original Spanish with the subtitles, really.
Well, in the original Hellboy, he was the fish man. For lack of better, I can't remember the name of the character. But Simeon. They dubbed his voice in the first one, but they let him do the actual character's voice in the second one.
Right. Yeah. Abe Sapien is the name of the
there you go. But, he's a very tall, lanky actor. Right. So again, thanks to Guillermo del Toro, I almost said Benicio del Toro. Are they related?
No, actually, they're not.
I mean, he's done. He was on Star Trek Discovery, I think, right? As one of the main characters. And, he also plays the fish man in another film that Guillermo del Toro did, a love story. We'll talk about, I'm sure, in a minute. I watched this film 2 nights ago for this show. I had been avoiding it because the guy with the creepy hands with the eyes in him, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be too weird. So I just avoided it. And I finally watched it, and I'm really glad that I watched it, because it was, like you said, it was a really amazing story, with real cruelty and fantasy creatures that were just kind of horrific and engaging at the same time. It's one of those movies, foreign movies, that you forget that there's no English when you're watching, because you're reading the subtitles, and you're so transported into the other worlds, right? That you just forget that there's a different language there. You know, it's like Shakespeare. When you first listen to Shakespeare, you got to tune into the Old English, but about 20 minutes in, you're in there. You're in the show, and you're listening, and you're understanding what they're doing, and the actions are helping. The body language is helping with the communication, and
exactly.
It's number 1 on my list.
Wow.
Yeah, I again, it's the ending. I don't want to give a spoiler here.
Yeah,
but the ending is kind of really weird, you know, and how and like you say, the twist at the end. It's you know, at first I was very upset by it.
Oh yeah.
And very emotional movie.
Then I accepted it, you know. So it's not as scary as they make it out to be with the creatures, the pictures of the creatures that we see. I will say that the guy that plays the stepdad is scarier than those guys.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's the
and that's
real
another
monster.
thing. Yeah, that's another thing that Del Toro does, is the humans are much more monstrous than the monsters. Fantasy creatures. Yeah.
One of the things that happened in Del Toro's life is when he was 4, his father won the lottery and invested in a whole library of books, many of which were zoological and anatomical, a lot of biology books, books about skeletons and art, and also fairy tales. So there's little Guillermo, and he said from a very early age, he started understanding and appreciating the intersection between the grotesque and the fanciful and the beautiful, and also anatomy and art. And he wanted to do things within that intersection. And so you see that, of course, I think very vividly in Pan's Labyrinth.
That's very Leonardo da Vinci as well.
Very Da Vinci, yeah. Del Toro, Da Vinci.
Well, that certainly explains a lot. I mean, I definitely see that in his movies.
Absolutely.
Like you said, the intersection, the fairy tale qualities, and then the very sort of dark reality that surrounds that.
Right. So, and he starts off the way you and Rory are both visual artists, and he was a visual artist as a little kid. He would just draw these monsters, and he would make them very anatomical and sort of humanoid and sort of bestial. And he would just combine everything, and then it would be beautiful on top of the abject imagery. So it's a very interesting thing. Like Pan's Labyrinth is a beautiful way. And even in the clip, if someone hasn't seen it, the clip that we just played, you see the almost monstrous fawn, but then his gentility, and then you see the beauty around the girl and the innocence, the kindness.
Mhm.
there's a lot of brutality in this movie. It's not for little kids. There's a lot of it's quite brutal, but there's
Yeah.
also this beautiful fairy tale in it, and he does that with so many of his movies. It's just incredible.
Yeah. Okay. So when was the first time you saw it, Renee? When you said this is one of your favorite movies.
Yeah, I saw it about a year and a half after it came out. My older brother just called me up one day and he said, "You have got to see this thing called Pan's Labyrinth." And I saw the cover of it and I said, "There's no way." It was just like Rory. I was like, "I'm not going to watch some gross." I said, "I'll be terrified. It's just like a horror." And he goes, "No, it's beautiful and it has heart." And he really, really lobbied. And I was like, "Okay, fine." And I watched it like late one night and it just stayed with me. It's one of those movies that just stays with you, and it's an
Yeah.
emotional journey. And then I started watching behind the scenes and interviews with Del Toro. I wanted to see the making of. There's this funny scene, and there's a lot of battle scenes. It's a Spanish Civil War backdrop, as Manny said. And there's this great moment where they show behind the scenes, and Del Toro's there directing, and the horses are just impossible to direct. I mean, you cannot direct a horse. And then there's Del Toro narrating, saying, "Horses are assholes. I hate working with horses. They're assholes." So my friends and I always like say that to each other. We're always like, "Horses are assholes." But yeah, it was hard, for Del Toro. It was harder to deal with the animals in the movie than it was the CGI and the human actors as well. But
Right. Yeah.
it's a beautiful movie, and I will tell anyone who hasn't watched it, it will captivate your senses, all of them, for a very long time, and you will not be bored at all.
Yeah.
Impossible to be bored.
And I don't think he's had any horses in his movies since then.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that was the end of Del Toro and the Equestrian. Yeah.
He's not going to be making westerns anytime soon.
No. No. Absolutely
CGI
not.
horses.
Yes.
Somebody's doing a shout out to Pinocchio and to Cabinet of Curiosities.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's on Netflix.
I haven't seen Cabinet of Curiosities.
Yeah, me neither. But
I haven't.
that's
not
on my list.
Sorry, but I
Yeah.
will now that you said that.
Yeah. All right.
My second one, that was my first. My second one was Shape of Water. Mainly because of the lead actress's performance in it, but again, it's extremely visual. He's an extremely visual director. The whole, falling in love with a fish stick, fish man, turned me off, from beginning to end. But that's a bad flaw in my character. I made fun of it after I watched it, but it's a wonderfully made movie. Again, I get all the accolades that it received, and it's a shame that he didn't get a nod for director.
Yeah,
hasn't gotten one yet.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's on my list. It's not the second one, but it's definitely on my list. Yeah, great performance.
It's second on my list because of the style of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because like you said, when I go out to a movie, there are certain things that I look for and listen for, like you said, that have to line up in a row, and that one was definitely, again, I understand why it got so many award nominations.
Did he freeze?
Who?
Did Rory freeze?
Did I?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, he froze on my end. I'm so sorry, but Rory, you were totally frozen, and Manny wasn't. I've never seen that. Sorry, guys.
No. Wow, okay. I didn't even notice that.
I didn't either.
Yeah, I gotta shout out to Richard Deakins, his performance as the girl's neighbor, and Michael Shannon. Holy cow!
Yeah, talk
about a villain.
He plays a good villain.
Talk about a monster. Yeah, really, really great performance from him. I mean, he was definitely somebody that you love to hate in this movie, and he got the appropriate comeuppance at the end. Not to spoil anything, but and Sally Hawkins as the girl. I forget her character name, but she was wonderful. her character was mute throughout the entire
Right.
story, and she communicated through ASL. Um, and she
Mhm.
found a way to communicate with this creature, again played by Doug Jones,
Yeah.
in some great. I mean, it's basically it's the creature from the Black Lagoon, but done as an actual love story.
Yes.
Where the creature's not the monster. I mean, he's monstrous. Yeah, I mean, he's
And
unusual, but
and again, what you just said, what you just described, totally shouldn't work,
yeah, and
but
yet
it does.
it somehow does. Yeah, and it's funny said that you avoided watching Pan's Labyrinth for a long time.
Yeah.
I avoided watching this movie for a long time. I don't know, and I don't even really know why. It was like I don't
Yeah.
know about this one, but I finally watched it again. Yeah, in preparation for the show, and I loved it. I thought,
Yeah.
wow, this is now there are places I think it did drag for me. That's why I didn't quite make number two for me.
Okay.
It dragged in some places, and there's scenes that I thought didn't need to be there, didn't really add anything to it, uh, that could have been cut out.
Mm.
Um, but overall, it's still a really good movie,
Yeah.
and again, it's that blend of realism and fantasy. Uh, Also, a shout out to Olivia Spencer, who plays the girl's best friend,
Mm.
um, who winds up helping her at the end.
Mhm.
Another great performance. I mean, it's just that's the thing about Del Toro's movies is he casts really well,
Mhm.
and everyone gives just top-notch performances.
Yeah.
So, actually, number two on my list is one of his earlier movies called The Devil's Backbone.
Okay. Yeah.
And this one came out in 2001, and like I said, it's one of his earlier movies. Again, another one set during the Spanish Civil War, and this one's a ghost story.
Okay.
And it's about a young boy, a little boy, around 9 or 10 years old, who winds up in this orphanage out in the middle of nowhere. His father's been killed, although nobody tells him that at first. And the man who he calls his tutor winds up leaving him at this orphanage where there's supposed to be this ghost. Although everyone kind of like, nah, there's no such thing, whatever.
Mhm.
But he discovers that yes, there
There
actually is
really
a
is a
ghost.
ghost.
There is a ghost there, and the story is basically well, there's a couple of stories going on, but they both dovetail very very neatly. Um, as to why the ghost is there, who made this. It's a ghost of a little boy, another little boy, who
Mhm.
died years earlier, um, and it's an exploration of why this particular child, how he died and why he's haunting the place and who killed him, and the revelation of just exactly what happened. It's like, oh, okay, but it makes sense. I mean, it's narratively it's one of his more tightly plotted movies, uh, and and again, just wonderful cinematography, wonderful acting. Uh, and it does take place in Spain, and so it's all in Spanish, and again subtitled like Pan's Labyrinth. Uh, and it definitely does inform that as well. Um, but the thing is that it's not scary really. I mean, there's some scares and there's some jump scares in it too. But the ghost story is really almost incidental to the rest of the narrative.
Mhm.
Uh, and again, like I said, it takes place during the Spanish Civil War, and everybody's afraid. Everybody's worried about who's going to wind up. Are they going to get killed? The rebel, the sort of Republican, what they called Republicans, who were fighting against the fascist government
Ironic.
of yeah of Generalissimo Francisco Franco, which became an SNL joke later on after he died. But yeah, it was a frightening time for everyone involved.
Yeah.
Uh, and and so you get this larger thing going on, and what happens at the orphanage becomes almost a microcosm for the horror that goes on in the real world. So anyway, it's again just another beautifully shot, beautifully told Del Toro story. And
I don't know where I got
I
the idea that it
hesitate
was
to
a
say
short
anything,
film.
but oh, I'm sorry. What?
I said I don't know why I got the idea that it was a short film, but I bypassed watching it this weekend because
Yeah, no.
because I thought it was a short film. I thought it was something
No, it
early
was.
on that he did that was a short film. I don't know
Yeah.
where I got that idea.
He did do some short films in the '80s when he was kind of coming up. There is one on YouTube called Geometria, which is Spanish for geometry, that he did. It's a little short, like 6-7 minute movie, but it's really, and it's another monster movie that he did. But no. Backbone is a full length feature film, and
I will definitely have to look it up.
well worth watching. Yeah,
I will definitely have to look it up as it's as it's number 2 on your list.
yeah. And just to say, number 3 on my list is Shape of Water. So
okay, I'm cheating.
okay.
Number three on my list is the 2 Hellboy movies.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because they're equally entertaining. In my eyes, there was a little more in the first one, but I like the second one as well. So I love Ron Perlman as Hellboy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's wonderful as Hellboy in that.
Yeah.
And both of those. I saw clips from the Hellboy movie that came out like a year ago or two.
A 2 years ago.
And I wasn't impressed.
It was a mess. It was a mess. They tried to
I
cram
didn't watch the whole movie.
too many of the original stories into one movie, and it just didn't work.
Yeah.
And David Harbour, as good an actor as he is, just didn't measure up to Ron Perlman.
How do you fill those shoes?
Exactly. How do you feel that big giant fist?
You're going to be playing James Bond. Connery's done it 5 times, but
yeah.
But you'll be taking over that role.
Yeah.
So again, a lot of he doesn't bombard you with the special effects. Then the special effects that you get are really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
The monsters, the creatures, the stuff, they're really good. They're believable. They're gnarly. So I like that you get more story, more character than you get special effects.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Yeah, Del Toro doesn't skimp on the human characters. As much as you like seeing, and even though Hellboy isn't technically human, he feels human. He feels like he's really
he is a human enough character.
But he's a human enough character, and I think a lot of that is due to Perlman,
right,
and his acting. But all the other characters, Selma Blair, and of course, again, Doug Jones as Abe Sabian, another fish man that he gets to play, John Hurt, and
in the first one,
in the first one, and the villains, the weird, they bring in Rasputin, and there's Nazis, and there's this clockwork guy, robot man thing. I don't know what the hell
that guy was the creepiest.
Yeah, he was the creepiest. Sort of kept, it's almost like a Doctor Who character. But yeah, great special effects again. Both Hellboy and Hellboy: The Golden Army, the sequel. So Hellboy's number 4 on my list.
Okay.
So what's number 4 on your list?
Pacific Rim. Because I'm a huge kaiju fan, and you know that.
Yes, I had a feeling that was going to be on your. It was going to be on your.
Yeah, well, and I'll tell you, the idea of fighting giant kaiju with robots. I mean, I could see a studio salivating the minute he probably opened his mouth to pitch this. Exactly. Well, it's going to be kind of be like Godzilla and those monsters, like fighting the Transformers.
It's almost better than a dream about land.
And again, his track record up to that point was really good. Unfortunately, the movie didn't do as well as they had hoped.
Yeah.
But again, very entertaining, very interesting characters. Scott Eastwood was in the second movie, but that's not Del Toro, so we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah, not
right, Renee?
We're not going to talk about it.
Yeah, the sequel was disappointing to say the least. But Pacific Rim, yeah, as soon as I saw, okay, giant robots, giant monsters, take my money now. It's just,
oh, his arm's gone.
oh no,
one of his arms got taken off. There's a Jaeger.
Yeah.
The robots were called Jaegers.
Jaegers, yeah, the big fighting machines, yeah.
Jägermeisters.
Like, it's it's Neon Genesis Evangelion mixed with Godzilla. Exactly. It's like it's an anime. It's a live action anime, basically.
Yeah. The monsters that they created here for the new Godzilla movies that we're doing here in the they call it the Monsterverse, I guess.
Monsterverse, yeah.
Skyla, which is basically a giant spider. Behemoth, which is kind of like a cross between a gorilla and a mammoth.
Right,
the Warbats, they didn't impress me at all. I don't like the creatures that they've created. What they did with Gingira and Rodan and Mothra, very cool, but
yeah,
the original characters, the Muto, the original characters they've created, I'm just like, come on, you guys could have done better than that. But in this film, Pacific Rim, they had some cool monsters, some cool kaiju with knife heads and stuff. They were gnarly. They were interesting, and formative.
Yeah.
So formidable. I'm sorry.
Formidable. Yeah.
So I dug what Del Toro did with this. Again, it is kind of a ripoff of Godzilla and kind of a ripoff of Transformers, but he made it his own.
It worked. It worked. The whole concept of having two pilots and the link between them and all that, and again, he made a very emotional story.
Yeah.
The two brothers. I'm not going to spoil the movie. If you haven't seen it, go see it. Renee, there was a comment by Ruby Ray Moore that can you go back and talk about that one?
Yeah, absolutely. So Ruby said that her cousin has been a concept artist on several of Guillermo's movies. They've hung out. It's like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, only it's 1 degree and Del Toro. And he conceptualized the tank. So that's so awesome, Ruby. I love that.
Yeah, how cool.
So I was going to ask you at the beginning, who was the person that kept wanting us to do an episode on Del Toro? Was it Ruby or was it somebody else?
I think it was Jamie Bennett.
I think it was Jamie. I'm pretty sure it was Jamie, but now we know that Ruby likes it too. So
yes, indeed.
And I think Ruby chimed in and said, "Yeah, let's do Del Toro." So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And now we see why.
And now we see why, because he's family to her, right? By 1 degree off.
1 degree.
He's family adjacent. So
Guillermo del Toro. Yeah. All right.
And Kevin Bacon was in the Christmas movie for Guardians of the Galaxy. So now he's connected to the Marvel Universe too, and Guardians of the Galaxy.
Awesome.
And the Avengers.
Kevin Bacon.
Another round of that game.
Yeah.
He's done it all.
Yeah. Kevin's the man. Yeah.
So now we're down to number 5.
So number 5 on my list was Pacific Rim.
There we go.
Yeah. It almost there was a fight in my head between Pacific Rim and Blade 2.
That's number 5 on my list.
Well, there you go. So, yes, let's talk about Blade 2 here.
Yeah. There were 3 of those films with Wesley Snipes. This was actually one of the first modern Marvel movies.
Exactly, yeah.
And then he got caught with the IRS. He had trouble with the IRS and ended up going to jail.
Yeah.
Do his penance, pay his time. All 3 movies are entertaining. This one, with its concept, of the mutant vampires
Mm-hmm.
that are trying to kind of eradicate what's on the planet as it is now, the humans and the vampires, and make their own mutant vampire planet. It was interesting. I mean, the story was interesting. The creatures, again, he didn't bombard you with a lot of CGI, but you got some gnarly, weird vampire creatures.
Yeah, with their mouths sort of split open like this way is
And they defied the gods by putting Chris Christopherson in these movies. He's usually the kiss of death to a movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not his fault for some reason. It's just, I mean, he's a good enough actor.
Yeah.
But for this it worked. He actually this was a successful trilogy that he was in, and I was so happy for that because I like Chris Christopherson.
Yeah.
I want his movies to be successful. Tell him that. So yeah, the last one in the series was so lackluster compared to the other two.
Yeah.
I felt.
Yeah.
With the whole Dracula thing, and the Dracula was the guy from Prison Break and The Flash, and
right, yeah.
Dominic Purcell, is that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah, just bad casting.
Yeah, and Ryan Reynolds doing kind of an early.
Oh my
version.
God, is Ryan Reynolds in that?
Ryan Reynolds is in it. Yeah, he kind of an early version of Deadpool.
I forgot that he was in that.
He was in that.
It's been a while since I've seen him.
Yeah. I was very, very disappointed. I was really excited. Oh, there's a third one, and then I went to see it, and it was like.
My favorite scene from the first one was where they take Udo Kier, who was Dracula in Andy Warhol's Dracula. They take him out into the sun, and they're wearing like helmets and leather and stuff to avoid getting killed by the sun. Yeah. And they just let him fry out in the sun in front of all of the new vampires, the new wave vampires.
Yeah.
Again, the story and the gnarly vampire hybrids, and all the twists and double crosses and stuff in it kept it going at a good pace, and it was entertaining.
Yeah. And another thing, it's interesting. We talk about directors who like working with the same people over and over. Mm-hmm. Ron Perlman was in Blade 2 again. Yeah. Which I don't remember. I think that actually came before Hellboy, right?
It did.
I think so. So
it did.
Yeah. So then he cast him as Hellboy.
Right.
And
he's in Pacific Rim.
That's right.
Mr. Hong Kong.
Yeah. Yeah, with the gold.
I was expecting his character to show up again in Pacific Rim 2 or the other one.
Yeah, but
even though.
He was smart enough to this looks
he
bad.
Read the script. He's like,
he read the script and it's like, is Del Toro directing? No, he's not. Well,
I'm gonna pass.
I'm good. So yeah. So Perlman shows up. Of course, Doug Jones is like the go-to guy for creatures. I don't think he's in Pacific Rim though, or maybe he played one of the kaijus. Who knows? No. That would have been fun. There wasn't a role for a fish man, so he wasn't.
Well, they were aquatic creatures.
They were aquatic.
They did come from the ocean.
And again, like we said, there's the narration at the beginning of the movie and at the end of the movie, where the guy's explaining about where the monsters come from. We're expecting aliens to come from space, but no, they came from beneath the ocean and all that. So
right.
So so that's one of Guillermo's tropes that he likes to do. All
right, so we're now down to honorable mentions.
So honorable mention, well, Blade 2 was one of my honorable mentions, and we talked about that. The other one is one of his even earlier movies. It may have been his first American movie. Was Mimic.
Yes,
I forgot that he had made that with the creepy sort of roach-like creatures that
live in
the subways.
And they look like homeless people.
They look like homeless people,
which I thought was an awesome idea.
Yeah, they look like somebody with a coat.
Amy Bennett's late to the Del Toro show. What?
Oh
We're on our
no.
honorable mentions.
Yeah. Replay.
You're gonna have to do the replay squad.
Yeah. But
So
yeah.
Mimic was a great concept, and
Yeah.
I don't think he wrote this one. I think he just directed it.
I think so. I think yeah. It
And
was really
but
directed.
obviously, when he saw the idea, he was like, "Wow, I like it. I like the idea."
Yeah.
And made it interesting.
Yeah.
It was one of his earliest films in America.
Yeah.
So and quite. Again, I don't think it made its numbers that it was supposed to in the box office. They did make a sequel.
Yeah, they did. But I
Uh,
don't think he was involved though. In the sequel.
no, he wasn't involved in the sequel.
Yeah.
That was like a direct to video.
Yeah. But yeah, and of course I like Renee and spiders. I have a phobia about big bugs like that. But
those are really big bugs, human-sized bugs.
Yeah, and I think I finally saw it when I didn't see it. I didn't see it at the theater. I finally saw it when it came like to HBO or something.
Yeah.
But, okay. Yeah,
I actually saw it in the theater.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cool.
I just liked the idea.
Yeah.
So I went
but
and saw
once
it.
Once I saw it, it was like that was actually pretty good, and I think that's where I became a fan of Del Toro, and then and I started watching more of his movies, and it was like, oh, this guy, I'm gonna follow his career, and I'm glad I did, and of course some of the Spanish movies. I'd heard of one I haven't seen is Kronos, which is another one of his early movies that he did in Spanish. So I need to watch that one. I heard that was good, and finally saw Devil's Backbone just a couple of days ago, and I'm like, man, why did I wait so long to see this movie? It's excellent. It's so good.
To watch that.
So yeah, you need to see that. I think that's it.
I just want to give an honorable mention to Pinocchio.
I still haven't seen that one yet.
I skimmed through it this afternoon, and the look of it and the sound of it, it's got some voices that you'll recognize for sure. Mm-hmm. The look of it is interesting. It's entertaining. The problem I had with it was just, why do this one again?
Right? Why Pinocchio?
So many Pinocchios. Why do this one again? Yeah. And he tries to throw a new spin on it, and it's like why? Why did you do that? Come on. So, again, but visually, it's him in the Jim Henson Workshop. It's got a kind of a feel of the old Rankin and Bass Christmas specials,
Oh yeah.
Kind of. Except
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
A lot more detailed. Yeah, a lot more detailed. So it's I'm not going to go as far as to say Nightmare Before Christmas, but it's definitely got a kind of an interesting 3D animated effect to it.
Okay.
So it's definitely worth a watch, but it's just the same story. I mean, most for the most part, it's the same story.
And Disney made their own remake of their movie version of the animated version, and it's like, why are we rehashing the same story?
Why?
I would love to see if anybody is gutsy enough to do it. I'd like to see Del Toro actually do a version of The Wizard of Oz. How trippy would that be?
That would be a mind blower.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid, Dorothy. I'm not afraid anymore.
Exactly. Yeah.
The Tin Man tried to kill me.
Just have Doug Jones play all
Doug Jones plays all the characters. He's definitely up for the Scarecrow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. There was a sequel. There was a movie called Return to Oz.
Return to Oz. Yeah.
With Fairuza Balk. That had a very that could have been a Del Toro movie. I mean, it was kind of dark.
Yeah. I liked it. A lot of people hated it at the time. A lot of people were trashing it and giving it bad reviews and stuff. And I was like, I liked it. I thought it was I thought it was different. It wasn't the same old, Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. Oh, Toto, we're not in Kansas anymore.
No.
You know, it was a real little girl, you know,
Yeah.
and the characters looked like the book characters
Right. Exactly. I mean,
from the sketches in the books from L.
Yeah.
Frank Baum's
Yeah.
books.
Yeah.
So, um,
Yeah.
and Nicole Williamson,
Nicole Williamson. Yeah.
yeah, was the psychologist, and then he became like
The Gnome King.
the gnome. Was it the gnome king?
Gnome King.
In the
Yeah.
other side,
Yeah.
very nasty.
Yeah. I forget who played the witch. Who played Mombi? I want to say Miranda Richardson, but I don't know if that's right. Um, I think it is. I think it's Miranda Richardson. She was the nurse or the assistant, you know, Nicole's assistant, and then
Mhm.
she was the witch, the one who could replace her head.
I'd forgotten that part.
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember they had the TikTok character. The TikTok character was
Yeah. The little, it looked like a boiler.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The soldier. Yeah. And Pumpkinhead and yeah, the
And
gum.
Pumpkinhead, yeah, who was an interesting character in the Oz
Yeah.
books. But yeah, like you said, it's very Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah.
And that would be a good thing, I think, to try that
Yeah.
because they haven't really. I mean, they've done that one, Return to Oz, and they've done The Wiz.
The
Um,
Wiz,
and there was
Oz the Great and Powerful, the one with James Franco.
yes, which was good because that was
Yeah.
a different take on it. That was
Yeah.
earlier on.
Kind of the yeah.
A
Although
prequel.
honestly, I mean, I like James Franco, but honestly, I think I would have cast Jack Black as Oz.
Somebody a little
Yeah.
more Frank Morgan, at least.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I was thinking. He looks more like Frank Morgan than you know.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Exactly. So
But how you are judged by others. Ain't it the truth? Ain't it the truth?
I'll fight you with 2 arms with my hand tied behind my back. If I were the
I just
king
read-
of the forest. Oh, okay.
If I were a king of the forest.
There you go. There you go. And of course, Billy Burke as
And Toto too.
oh, you can tell me,
Um,
Dorothy, I'm a lesbian too.
We're doing a second episode on Oz movies. We broke into an Oz movie
I
episode.
know. What the heck? Wait a minute. Anyway,
There was a TV show called Oz.
yeah, but slightly different Wonderland there. Not going
So
back
it's
here.
interesting, yeah, that we got most of the same ones on the list.
Yeah.
And again, there's not a lot out of there. Oh, Renee's battery died.
Oh no.
Y'all got to close without her. Hey.
Oh no, and we're going to introduce a new segment. We're going to look at some reviews of the movies.
Oh,
critics.
I couldn't find any bad reviews. We were talking about finding some bad reviews. I couldn't find any.
Well, I went on Rotten Tomatoes and
Yeah.
found some, but yeah, we can save that one for another time.
Again, most people just like his stuff. You know, they know that he's very artistic in nature and again very visual, which people like. This is a very visual age, so he knows what he's doing as far as piecing together his palette for us to see. You know.
Oh yeah. That's the thing. It's cinematography. Whoever his cinematographer is, I don't know if it's the same guy or same person who does all his movies. You know, generally a lot of directors like to work with the same cinematographer, but he definitely developed a very particular language. Like I said, he likes to use a lot of blue and a lot of some green, red, and gold in a lot of his movies. There was one movie that I just saw that I hadn't seen in is Crimson Peak. And I really couldn't list it as an honorable mention because a lot of the plot elements are the same as it's another ghost story, but too many of the plot elements reminded me of Devil's Backbone. Yeah. Same. Very generally speaking, the plot is almost the same. You know, there's a ghost haunting this location. it was,
So they saw Devil's Backbone,
murder.
they liked it. They said, "Hey, we got a movie just like that. Let's get him to
Well,
direct it."
he wrote it and directed
wrote
it.
it.
Yeah, and I'm like, you're just repeating yourself. I mean, again,
Guillermo, you're a hack.
exactly. It's
You're
gorgeous to
doing the
look
same
at.
thing.
Beautiful cinematography. Takes place, it's more it's 19th century. It's not Spanish Civil War this time. Very, very, very kind of almost steampunk look. Gorgeous cinematography. Great acting. Tom Hiddleston is in it. And Charlie Hunnam, who was in Pacific Rim.
Yeah. So this one is called what now?
It's called Crimson Peak. I mean, it's
Okay.
worth a watch. It's worth a watch. And it.
I'll watch it before I watch Devil's Backbone,
Yeah, it's
so
a
that I
good
don't
movie.
feel disappointed.
Yeah.
And hopefully, I won't be disappointed in Devil's Backbone after I watch
Yeah, I
Crimson
hope so.
Peak.
Yeah. It's not a bad movie. I'm not gonna say it's a bad movie. It's just I was just a little bit disappointed that I felt like I've seen this. I've
Deja
seen
vu.
this story already.
We've done this before.
Yeah, but it still holds up. It still holds up, and it's got a little bit more money. It's got a little bit more of a bigger budget on this one. So the special effects, of course, always on point.
Mm.
A little bit more like scary. Um, so yeah, I'm not knocking it by any means, and I do recommend it if anybody's a Del Toro fan or a ghost story fan. Definitely watch this movie. But for me personally, having seen the other one, I just felt like, yeah, kind of treading the same ground. So that's the only thing that kind of disappointed me about it. But otherwise,
Yeah.
a good Del Toro movie. So
You sold out.
sold out, man.
You took the money.
Go do
and
Wizard
did
of
it
Oz.
again. Or maybe it was like a Sam Raimi where he wanted to make Evil Dead again to do it
I
better,
made Evil
do
Dead
it right.
2, and yeah, we had a little bit bigger budget.
Hey,
Yeah,
I got bigger budget. I got better special effects. I could do the same movie and make it the way I wanted to make it.
exactly. Yeah.
Got to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Okay, so next time we get together,
Yeah.
I think we've knocked off the bucket list from people who wanted.
I think so. Yeah.
So we're gonna do classic porn movies, right?
Yes. Yes, we're finally getting to the classic porn. Yes. Behind the green door, Deep Throat, Devil
and
Miss
Miss
Jones.
Jones.
The fact that
Deep
we know these
Throat.
titles
Didn't
tells
we
a lot
actually
about
talk
us.
about Deep Throat on an earlier episode?
We talked about Linda Lovelace.
Yeah.
And her rather frightening journey through the world of porn.
But you mentioned Jack Black a few minutes ago, and I think that's prophetic. I think we should do Jack Black next show.
Okay, I was going to suggest we do another actress, but we can say that for the next one. Let's do Jack Black. He's done some interesting movies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or we could do The Rock.
Or The Rock.
Just kidding.
No.
Jack Black.
Jack Black. Yeah. Okay.
Cuckoo. Cuckoo. When I was in China, I mean, so many people told me I look like Jack Black because I'm a fat guy.
You look like that Jack Black.
You look like Jack Black. Everybody's telling me that. I was like,
you look Jack Black.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. I think Jack Black is a handsome guy. I mean, I haven't had a gay dream about him yet, but
Well, when you do, please let us know.
probably will now. Thanks.
Oh, could have been worse. Could have been what's his name? The guy from Pineapple Express.
Rogan.
Could have been Seth Rogen. They could have
Seth
compared you to
Rogen.
Seth Rogen. Joel looks Seth Rogen.
He's got some characters. He's got some looks. If you've ever watched, is it Fanboys? He plays like 3 characters in that movie.
Yeah.
And the Star Trek character is my favorite. He was hysterical.
Yeah. I haven't seen that one in a while. Yeah. Go back and watch that one. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Fanboys is very funny.
Fanboys. Yeah.
And William Shatner. I can get anything. I'm William Shatner.
I can do whatever I want.
A lot of good stuff.
Promise.
All right.
Speaking of Shatner, I was watching something on YouTube, and it was a guy doing a bit, a stand-up routine on Shatner. Now I've got the guy's name. Anyway,
Kevin Pollak is the one
Kevin
that
Pollak. That's the guy who
does the voices of the characters on the ship. It's a classic.
Yeah, he did this bit
he does
where
like Jack Nicholson.
like what if what if they
McCoy.
replaced? Yeah, that's the one I was watching.
Yeah.
Oh, Jimbo's feeling a little weird here. He's getting a little paranoid.
Getting a little paranoid there.
Yeah, and Christopher Lloyd as Spock, even though that's probably before. I don't know if he did that. Well, okay, okie dokie. And
I've got no idea.
Doing a Ron Moore, not Ron Moore,
Dudley Moore.
Dudley Moore as Arthur, as Scotty.
Scotty.
Don't tell him we're having a party.
Yeah, it's a classic bit. That's the one that was the appearance on the Rodney Dangerfield special. I think that got him. I mean, it made him famous. You know, when comics did the Rodney Dangerfield specials, it usually led to superstardom.
Yeah.
Sam Kinison, Andrew Dice Clay, again, a lot of these guys, Bob Nelson, and
Clay.
yeah, and that led to Kevin Pollak, starting to be cast in movies, and
I was, when I saw Usual Suspects, and there's Kevin Pollak, and I'm like, is this a comedy? And nope, it's
no,
not.
he was doing dramatic.
He was doing doing straight roles, and good for him, yeah. But still, his Shatner, the exaggerated movements. I'm Captain Kirk.
That's the one that everybody else started to rip. They started doing his impression.
Right,
and Shatner hates it. She's like, I don't talk like that.
I don't know why they seem to think that I talk like that. I don't. I really don't.
And even he said that the first time he saw Shatner was on Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
When are we going to get out of here? The thing with the bobblehead devil.
Oh, yeah. And of course.
Then 20,000 feet. Something on the wing of the plane.
There's a man on the wing of the plane.
And he said by the time he came out as Kirk on Star Trek, it was just like, wow, the pauses, the crazy gestures.
Yeah. Risk is our business. That's why we're here.
I'm responsible for the lives of 527 crew members. and walk-in. His walk-in is the one that everybody does now. Yeah. Pollak was really the first.
Yeah.
And he's still one of the best. And Jay Marler.
Yeah.
And Yaworsky is so sorry. Mac totally died.
Oh no.
I'm seeing messages now. She's apologizing. It's okay. It's okay. We're fine.
See, that's why I put mine on. I hook it up to the charger. So I know it's always.
Oh no, she's gonna have to cancel. Oh no.
Oh.
She's asking if we ended the show.
No, dear, we're still on.
No, we're still
going.
We're gonna do Jack Black next week.
We're doing Jack Black.
That should be interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us for the Guillermo del Toro episode of Two Guys and Sometimes a Gal Whose MacBook is Working, talking about movies.
That's right. So, good night, good day, and good luck.
Just hit leave. And it landed.
Bye, everybody.